Thank you so much. Finally, we kind of got you on stage. So Ashwin keep traveling. I keep seeing him from London to UAE to Malaysia to India, different part of the world. But I don't think Dr. Ashwin needs any kind of introduction. But for everyone reference, Ashwin is Executive Director at QS. And I'm assuming everyone knows about the QS. He has been with QS for more than a decade now, played fundamental and critical role in building QS, I guess, ranking, which is one of the private first national framework for ranking in India. He has been authoring many books, recently very popular one for the Prime Minister of India. And maybe we'll talk with Ashwin and let him share his side of it. Thank you so much for joining us, Ashwin, today for this chat. I can see the counter. We'll try to really make it quick and fireside. I don't know what really fireside means, but we'll try to make it really fireside. So 10 minutes, back-to-back questions. While my team said a couple of questions with me, I will try not to touch same, but maybe I will pick up some out-of-syllabus questions for you. Hope you are fine.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. For the last few days, I have been asking questions to the panelists on our fireside chat. So I'm on the reverse side, but always happy to talk not just about rankings, but about quality of higher education across the region. Thank you so much, Naveen.
Yes, so absolutely. You have been a brand ambassador for the universities, technically speaking, in Middle East, South Asia, Africa, helping them to build excellence and capacities and so on. So with your experience, Ashwin, you have been spending almost more than a decade with QS now, right? You have seen large, out of what, 26,000 university at worldwide, you might be ranking around 1,500 or so, right? So I saw a QS Arab region ranking, and where recently you might have ranked around 250, close to 250 university. My question to you is, how do you take care of local context when you rank? So we are sitting in UAE. How do you take care of local context and the geography of different places and different university when you rank?
So as you mentioned, we've been doing the Arab region ranking for close to 10 years now. And I've been with QS, this is my 13th year approximately. The gray hair definitely shows that it's almost been over a decade. So when we're looking at regional context, and it's interesting you mentioned the Arab region, because of course we have the World University Ranking, which ranks universities around the world. And rankings are definitely not the goal, but the outcome of what institutions are doing. And rankings are not perfect. But what we want to do, or what we wanted to do with the regional rankings, was able to provide an impetus to institutions to compete at least on the regional level with indicators that actually make sense for institutions to compete at least on the regional context. For example, employability would be something really serious at this time in the Arab region, but maybe in the next 10 years, it would move towards skilling. And I think the first panel discussion was, I was listening with great interest on the shift of jobs versus entrepreneurship. So the rankings actually should reflect what is happening in the region and should be futuristic looking to be able to push institutions towards the future. And that's why the Arab region ranking came out, is to be able to help institutions compete first on the regional level and then take them to the world level.
So interesting, very interesting. So out of Arab region, can you talk about the learning which you might have seen in the university going on global ranking? I'm assuming first you are preparing and pushing the university so that with the local context, they kind of compete at the local level, and then some might go up in the global ladder, right? So out of Arab region, do you have the case study, those who have been, are there any universities, those who are competing at the global level now?
There are several institutions from the Arab region. We rank about 250 in the Arab region ranking, out of which approximately 90 have made it to the world ranking today. 90. Wow. And that number a few years ago was probably 1/3 of that. Wow. And I think I would not say QS is responsible for it, but it is a drive to excellence and the various national visions by literally every state in the Arab region is having national visions to be able to benchmark and to push institutions which they have in the region, because you probably know the reliance on oil, which traditionally around in the GCC countries was heavy at one point in time. And to move away from an oil-rich economy to a knowledge-based economy, the universities are playing and will play an important role. For example, and this is very really important for me to stress this point, the Queen Mary University in London contributes from their institutions directly and indirectly $3.3 billion a year to the UK economy. Now that is amazing. Why? Because this is what universities should be. And we've seen the rankings are pushing them to do more research. And of course, every system, I think in the world today, we cannot say is perfect. And everything you do comes with some kind of a warning as well. Yeah. So for us, the purpose is to drive institutions to look at those rankings and say, what is that could we do to be able to compete regionally so that we can actually do better for the country and do better in the region. And of course, when we're trying to attract students into the UAE, the National University of Dubai, which is Sheikh Mohammed's project here, to be able to be benchmarked against the best, rankings will play an important role in getting there.
Yep. So just to take it ahead, right? So I totally understand there can be a different view to look into ranking from a different perspective. But there is no doubt about it, ranking play a fundamental role in terms of pushing and helping universities to introspect really and benchmark with the other university, right? But then there are more complexities around it. There are factors like sustainability and social responsibility, because given the local nuances and local context, right, there might be different areas which university might be talking about. Then how do you take care of those factors? And really, do you take care of those factors while you rank universities or not?
So late George Box, the famous statistician, said essentially all models are wrong. So when we started the methodology 20 years ago, we had about 4 indicators. Those indicators became 6 about at a 10-year mark. Then they increased to about 9 indicators. And at the same time, besides adding more indicators, we are also changing the indicators to be able to take into account new metrics like sustainability. Now, sustainability in itself is not your UN's 17 SDG goals, but we are going beyond that to look at the impact of the university on environment, sustainability, and governance as well. So that is something we have done in our world ranking. We are looking at partnerships at a much different lens than what you would look through citations right now. We are looking at areas where you are collaborating with institutions outside your domain area as well. So all those are being part, and the ranking methodology is evolving as the economy, as the country is changing as well.
So very interesting. So it means you have a complex job year on year, because with the increasing parameter and the diversity, you are not only keeping the ranking ahead, but you are also taking care of what really matters at that point of time in that context.
And why is that, Naveen? Because when QS started, and I think a lot of you might not know the history behind QS, we came out of the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, where the founder was a student himself. Yep. And we are not one of those, privately, VC-funded companies. So for us, at the heart of what we do is the impact it has on students and the impact which they would like to have on the future as well. So all the indicators we do, whatever we do, centers around our mission, which is to enable motivated people around the world to fulfill their potential by fostering educational achievement, career development, and international mobility.
Interesting. So back home in India, right, so at least for me, right, I keep listening, a lot of university owners, the founders are talking about your QS, I guess, framework, right? So help us to understand why you kind of launched that framework and what it's all about, what is the fundamental role it's playing in improving the national ranking. Because I was looking into one of your posts and your founder post that the number of universities going on global index across the areas in different countries are improving too. But specifically, maybe you help us to understand the fundamental role QS goes maybe playing in India and or maybe any other example in your area.
So when we look at the Arab region first, there are 22 Arab states as per the Arab League. And when we look at India today, there are 30 plus states and then union territories. The number of universities and colleges is far more than this region. And of course, we have a regional ranking here. And the complexity in India is much more in terms of the geography as well. So for us, when we're looking at India and when we also looked at national education policy coming in much before, we wanted to provide a system which bridges the gap between what the government was doing and what the regional ranking is doing as well, to be able to help institutions, colleges especially, autonomous institutions, to be able to benchmark themselves and push them towards regional rankings. Of course, we don't probably have the challenge in the Arab region as much as we would have in India because of the kind of geography and the regulatory framework. So iGauge was established as a framework to push these institutions towards global recognition by providing a global system. Global standards along with local parameters were merged together to provide that framework, which was a midway between getting into the regional rankings, the Asia ranking in this case, and then to the world ranking, so one step below that.
Absolutely, I can say that it looked like it's working out. A lot of people aspire to kind of get a star ranking, which is a part of QS Gaze, and then so that they can first achieve the star ranking and then go on regional and then play on world ranking. So on that context, let's say in very, very layman language, right? If I'm running a university, if I'm a founder, I'm doing my job day in, day out. I'm trying to help my kids to come out with the great outcomes, learning outcomes, the placement outcome. I'm taking care of my faculties and everything around. But I was clueless. I'm clueless, assuming that I'm clueless about ranking. What should I do as a university owner or as a university to improve my ranking?
Well, if you have to ask that question, what do I do to improve my ranking, then you're not doing the right job at the university, right?
There is one more question in the last. We'll talk about that.
Because if you're doing things right, it should ultimately reflect in the rankings. Where there is a disconnect, Naveen, is the competition in the market. And while institutions implement something today, and I'm talking at another webinar later today on pedagogy and how the teaching learning outcomes are different and what do leaders need to do. Now, this is the challenge is if you implement something today and you're not benchmarking, you don't know what your peers are doing. And of course, at the end of the day, you need to start not to have rankings as a goal, but look at it as an outcome, because if not, you will be left behind.
So the real question, looking at the time also, should we really changing the ranking? Should we really,
Absolutely
as
not.
a university?
Absolutely not. I mean,
Not from a QS, because you are running a QS.
From a QS perspective as well, if I tell you you have to be chasing rankings, then there's fundamentally something wrong. But actually, you should be looking at those metrics and seeing why you are not where you are. And a lot of institutions tell me that we are the best in the region. But do you have the data to back it up? Right? So, yeah.
Make a lot of sense. And with that, we kind of wrap this panel. I hope with the context which Ashwin gave us, we might be going back with a lot of learnings, what really ranking means and whether these are really truly playing any kind of role or not and why these rankings are important. We see QS playing a vital and fundamental role. Thank you, Ashwin, for coming for this panel. And I must say you have been doing a great job helping, enabling. I keep listening about you from different founders. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Naveen. You truly set an example of